Hey, my friends. Today I want to talk about social engineering. Some of the topics today may not be appropriate for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. When we look at the social engineering going on right now in the world, and I'm going to kind of more focus on here in America, because that's where I live and that's what I see the most of, I see that there's a division that is consistently maintained in the population. So division is a control tactic. And I've been seeing this for a long time. And I want to give 3 examples in this video. But you may want to ask first, though, is who is deploying this division? Well, it's those who have things to benefit from. A lot of it is in the politics. Some of it comes from corporations and special interest. But certainly the government uses this division to keep the population from completely coming together and uniting to get things done, or to actually push back on the government and those special interests. So the government uses various means to keep the population uncomfortable. And I'm talking about constantly just pointing out our differences. That's the kind of division that they're doing. And probably the largest tool besides Hollywood would be to use this social media and the media that we would call mainstream media. Some people call it news. I call it mostly fake news, as a lot of other people do. But they use this media to promote this division. The first example of how various structures try to divide us as a country and to use division as a control tactic is through labels. And I just want to give you just a real clear example of that right now. And that is, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the more current, updated, and they call it abbreviation, but I'm not for sure. I could be missing a letter or two. You know how it is. They always add more letters. But as it stands right now, it seems to be the LGBTQIA. And I don't know if you want to call this a movement or an awareness. There's all kinds of labels on that as well. It's a community, but what this is, it's a very, very small minority of people. I mean, they don't even know. The estimates are all over the place. But looking at very conservative numbers on this that are based in reality, it's anywhere from 1 to 3% of the population identifies with any of this. Some numbers say as much as 5%, but I don't see very much strong evidence on that. But let's go ahead and define some of this, because it's just more labels to increase the probability that we'll have more division among us. Now, some people say, well, no, all these people are united. They're all buddies. But once again, the more you can point out differences between us, and I don't really see that always being so helpful. I mean, I understand if you're a criminal, then you're a criminal, and I'm not. So there's a difference, and there's a label that works. But anything else, I don't really see the purpose. It just makes us all that much more different than each other, and it's not bringing us together. And so even though people talk about how this is bringing people together, it's really just more competition of who's a bigger victim. That's what it really seems like. And I'm not saying that these people have not had a hard life. I'm sure some of these people have lived through nightmares. Some of these people don't choose their lifestyle. They may have hormonal problems or organic brain, issues. Some of them are born in ways that is not desirable, and that comes with lots of conflict and stress. Maybe they were born in a home that was very confusing. Who knows? There's all kinds of things. Some people just choose to be different, and they do things that are bizarre to get attention. So there's a full spectrum. There's a gamut here that we're looking at. But let's just go ahead and try to break this down. The LGBTQIA. And so lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual. And I'm sure there's quite a few other acronyms that people probably add to this that are not included. But what does that seem to you? Is this ridiculous or what? I mean, seriously. I mean, what kind of labels are these? You know, and do you see people that are straight, you know, saying things like, hey, man, I'm straight? I mean, straight people don't say stuff like this, you know, but people apparently that I guess that, you know, are different than straight people have to say something. Like, why don't you just keep it to yourself? But what this is that I think it's promoted, though, you know, by these agendas for dividing the population. It's always a very, you know, strong possibility. So a lot of these people probably would like to keep it to themselves, but there's a lot of pressure, a lot of social pressure to kind of be out, you know, be out of the closet, let everyone know, you know. I think it's just ridiculous, you know. So I don't see it helping your cause a lot. Some people say, well, when you're out, you know, you can, you know, interact with people, you know, more yourself, you know, you don't have to hide things. And I mean, I don't know, maybe that does help some people. I'm not saying hide yourself, but do you have to be so flaming about things? I mean, do you see straight guys just like flaming straight? Yeah, I guess you do sometimes. But it's something that I never see usually to the degree as I see someone that is, you know, like gay or something like that. That's just in my experience. I don't typically surround myself with a lot of people from an LGBTQIA groups. I don't. I wish them the very best, but it's not for me. So I just wanted to bring up this as the first way that people like to divide other people is through labels. And in this particular example, it's sexuality. And it's something to kind of be aware of. My second example here today is the breakdown of traditional marriage and that whole definition. Marriage is just kind of toppled anyways across the country. A lot of people are not getting married. They don't have any desire to get married. They don't have any type of connection with God. And it makes sense. Why would you get married if it doesn't mean anything? You know, and if you're just going to do it for legal reasons, a lot of people won't even do it for that. And so it's even worse, though, when you have people who get together and they don't even meet, you know, the definition of what marriage was. So they, you know, they go to their government and they get laws changed to redefine what marriage is. So there's a reason why marriage all through history was, you know, defined between a man and a woman, because that's what it takes to create a family. And so a man and a woman can have offspring. And of course, I know there's going to be people who are going to say, well, you can have two women or two men adopt, you know, children and raise them in a loving home. But that's not how it really is supposed to be biologically. A man and a woman both have different unique traits, and they both typically, for the most part, will teach different things to their child or children. And because of that, they'll have a balanced home. And I'm not saying that, you know, all alternative marriages are not loving in some way. But I'm just saying optimum, it's the optimum to have the man and the woman. That's just how it is. And you can debate that all you want, but that's my stance. When I used to be a counselor, I saw this, and I saw a lot more better balanced homes when there was a man and a woman, not between a woman and a woman or a man and a man. And I see a lot of problems when the whole concept of marriage has been hijacked by same-sex couples, when it's just ridiculous. Why not just have your ceremony, and why do you even need to be, in a legal sense, involved? I guess they think that they want to benefit legally from I guess, some of the constructs that have been created for married couples, and they're jealous, or they want that, of course. So in a lot of places, this is very, very common to see people get married that are the same gender. And so this is another way to divide, because once you destroy really what marriage was and what it should be, you basically are destroying the whole idea of what biology is, and you come into bigger problems because you're drawing that line between those who are more conservatives and that abide by the traditional definition of marriage, and those who are violating that in this alternative, just wild, wild west of marriages. And that's what kind of leads me to this next point here. And I know this has been going on for about 2.5, 3 years, but I just became aware of it, because I don't look into this kind of stuff. This stuff doesn't really, get my goat. I don't really care about all this. But my mom just recently brought it up, and it kind of shocked me a little bit. And it's called sologamy, SOLOGAMY, sologamy. And what it is, it's not legal yet, but in Australia, this is somewhat common from what I've been reading and stuff. Not like everybody's doing it, but I'm just saying this has been going on more than a lot of other places around the world. But it's like a ceremony. Once again, it's not legal marriage, but it's a ceremony that the person marries themselves. So I don't even know if you want to call it married, because I don't think you can really technically marry yourself, but I guess there's like a process that they have vows, or they say things to themselves, and some of them are calling it like they're married, but they married themselves, that they're their own bride or groom, or however that works. And some people are saying this is just more like a public display or announcement of celibacy, because obviously if you're married to yourself, I guess you can't, be with other people, right? Unless you want to cheat on yourself. So you're going to be celibate. And so people are saying, well, this is just a new version of celibacy. But I think it's a new version of crazy, if you asked me. So this is really a public display of self-love, but self-love in the sense that it's not actually healthy, I don't think. I think this is abnormal. And this is being promoted by quite a few people, quite a few groups, which is disturbing. I'm not so surprised, because there's a lot of misled and very odd people in this world. But sologamy and gay marriage and all this is not benefiting anyone. Now you may say, "Oh, I have friends that are gay, and some of them are married, and they're doing just fine. They're very happy, and so forth." But it doesn't mean that you have to destroy various, how would you say, systems in place to be happy. There's a reason why, though, that a man and a woman, once again, gets together and they get married, because they have a family, and they continue the human race, if you will. And you don't get that with two guys or two girls. And as much as you want to push that they can be loving, they can adopt kids and all this stuff, it's not the same. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, example number 3 for me involves the use of holidays and festivals and parades, other social gatherings. And there's a lot of groups that you like to use these times and these events to exploit agendas, to divide the population. And let me give you some examples here. Of course, these are my opinion, and so I'm not saying these to be disrespectful. I'm just saying these are things that I feel like that are not beneficial in the large picture when these things go on in most communities. And that is like the gay pride parades. I don't see those being conducive to community wellness. So I have not personally been to a gay pride parade because I'm not gay, but sometimes you can't help but to see them on TV every once in a while. Obviously, I switch the channel as soon as possible, but I can recall very vividly the few moments that I've seen this and that throughout the years of these parades. And to me, that seems to be quite inappropriate what some of these people are doing and what some of them are wearing and so forth. And so what some of them are even saying. And so I don't see benefits of grown adults acting like confused children. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I want to point out, though, that there's a lot of hypocrisy, though, when you have straight people, want to celebrate being heterosexual. And they talk about wanting to have a straight pride parade. There's a lot of pushback. I think it's just hilarious. I think it's great. I think we should go out there and celebrate just to show how ridiculous it is. And we shouldn't go out there and have a parade to celebrate that we're straight. But you know what? It does send a message. And it just shows you that, there's some people out there that, they want to celebrate their differences. And that's what they want to do. Fine. But I don't want to be involved with it. And I think it's ridiculous. And so if people want to be in your face and want to tell the whole world that they're gay or they're bi or whatever else they do, I don't see that being, something that brings people together. I think, to me, I avoid people like that. If my neighbor was to come over every other day, let's say, and want to tell me how gay he was, I'd be kind of like, stay over your property and I'm going to stay on mine. And if you don't, I'm going to probably build a fence, and I'm going to keep you out, because I don't want to talk about that all the time. So, that's one example. Let's go ahead and jump into another that's, a real big deal. Is the holidays. And I want to really, in particular, just highlight the whole Black History Month. Okay. And first off, I don't really think that the color of our skin matters at all. But I know it does to some people. And I want to say that when you're an American, like if you're a legal American, then that's what you are. You're not like an African/American or an Irish/American, or like in my case, I have 5 different nationalities. So what am I, like Italian - French - Native American - Spanish. Come on. Where does it end? Where does it end? So I just believe that if you're an American, you're an American, and let's drop all these other countries or all these other nations or whatever the heck. We're not that. We're an American. So let's start acting like one. So the color of our skin really shouldn't matter. And people need to get over that stuff. Good Lord. And nothing wrong with being respectful, to your ancestors or where you came from and knowing your history. It's very important. But this whole obsession, especially with what I see in this whole movement of Black History Month, which if you really look, it's pushed heavily by government, and it's obviously for a reason. But this is ridiculous. One day, have you ever seen any other nationality or race come together and just collectively say, hey, we're going to have a whole month for everyone of our color, even though we don't come from the same part of the world? Because you know that not everyone comes from Africa that's black. Let's just be honest. They come from all around the world, just like there's white people all around the world. And so to come to America, I could be a white person that comes from Africa, okay, and become an American. But I would be an African American, but I'd be a white person. And so what's so freaking crazy is this whole stereotypical view that, all these black people are mostly coming from Africa or Asia for the most part. And well, it may be a bulk of people who come from there are black. Doesn't mean they're all coming from, that are black. So this whole idea that Black History Month encompasses all these people is really shortchanging the people, because when you look into it, it seems like that pretty much most countries have their own month. And I think that this is another tool to devise division among, the population. So let's just go ahead real quick here and just read off various holidays here. In March, it's Irish Heritage Month. In March, there's also Greek American Heritage Month. In April, it's Arab American Month. And also in April, it's a Scottish American. In May, it's Jewish American. In July, it's French American. In September the 15th to October the 15th, it's German American Heritage Month. October, it's Italian Heritage Month. And then there's other non-black heritage months. Like in May, it's Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. In June, it's Caribbean American Heritage, and goes on and on. So it's like everybody has their own month, but black people get all lumped together. And what's really the irony is that they can have a whole month for their color. And see, if you look at any of these other things I just spoke of, it's all about location. Not about, I am medium tan skin month or white month. And that's the thing that I'm bringing here too, is that we do not have a white history month. And that would be so wrong, right? So racist. But it wouldn't be though, would it? But the whole thing is silly though. To even have a Black History Month? What about just having an African, if you just even have to have these holidays, have an African, Heritage Month or an Asian Heritage. But no, we can't have that. We have to have a special Black History Month. So you see where I'm coming from. This really makes these people stand out, and it's just so ridiculous. And this is something that they and they alone can only have, apparently. You can't have a White History Month because that's racist. Because they say, well, you have your other months, and, they say all through history, the white people have ruled, and 4th of July is a white day, and all this crap, right? President's Day is, white people day. Even though we've had Barack Obama, he was a wonderful president, of course. So they can't say that anymore for the most part. But this whole idea, though, is that Black History Month is in place is because this is where they want to just bring up slavery and that the white people were just so horrible. But they leave out, though, that their own people sold them into slavery. Okay? They leave that out. A lot of them were sold to the Spanish, I guess, but black people sold other black people. They're the ones that put them in bondage, and they sold them to white people. And then, of course, you don't really hear about the real statistics, though, do you? About how small the population, though, the slave groups were. And you don't also hear about black people owning black slaves in America. But that was there. In fact, there's a lot of arguments that it could be equal to or more than the white slave masters. But when you get down to the numbers, it's actually a very, very small minority of white people who had any slaves at all. And this is what's mind-blowing. In fact, what's even more crazy is that up north, there were a lot of indentured slaves, or indentured servants is what they mostly called them, but they were white indentured, and that never gets talked about. And you don't hear about other parts of the world where white people have been slaves for hundreds of years under people that were of darker color. Some people would say that they're black, and they were. So you don't hear about any of this because history is censored. History is censored because there has to be a certain focus and a certain type of repetition that has to go on to brainwash people. And It's really sad because if you look far enough back any time in history, there's been pretty much everyone of any different nationality has been a slave to someone else. And I know that my family had never had any slaves. If anything, they were very poor farmers, probably worse off than other people that were slaves, possibly. I mean, they're pretty rough off. They just worked until they died in the fields. So, I mean, they might as well have been slaves. And I'm here to tell you, don't buy all the bull. Don't think that like the whole South was just filled with slaves everywhere, and the white people were the only ones that were the slave masters. This is where the lies need to stop. This is crap. And then what's even more ridiculous is that black people that never even had a history of slavery are so pissed at the white people. Especially the white people who were just like my family that came over, that were immigrants, had nothing to do with any slave trade, but they're all pissed at me because I'm lighter skinned. It's just amazing. So that's why I don't really get into a lot of this stuff in politics usually, because it's just so whack. It's so out there. The more you look into it, it's just like stuff has been built up on lies. And so you have to kind of find the truth yourself, because you're probably not going to be told, at least through the mainstream media. They never tell you this truth. And in talking to most people, they don't even listen to what you have to say. They don't ever do any of their own research. They just accept what they've been told from media. So that's why I don't even try to even go here very often, because people have already made their mind up and they're not open to any new information. They're not open to any kind of research. The information's out there if you look. So with that, I hope this was interesting, and I hope no one got too bent out of shape. Just talking freely here about, social engineering, control tactics through division, and so forth. So, yep, it's very late, and it's like in the middle of the night, and I am so tired. So I'm going to go to bed. So hopefully this video made sense. If not, please ask questions in the comment section. I'll try to clarify. But I had to redo certain parts of this video several times just because I am so tired. But I'm just excited to do this video because it's something that's really important. I just see this more and more, these 3 examples all the time. And it's just really kind of to the point that I just needed to talk about it. And I know some of you guys have kind of requested a video like this a while back, but I didn't really feel up to that. I didn't know if it would be appropriate, but it is appropriate actually, because part of preparation is knowing how things are and knowing the truth and knowing what to look for and to be aware of. And if we're being controlled by social engineering, we can see it coming from a mile away and know how to prepare for it. We can expect it because we know it's not going away. It's only getting worse. So don't believe everything you hear. And always check everything, even from me. Check everything I say. And sometimes I could be wrong, but I typically won't say nothing unless I know deep down and through research, from good sources too, not just doing a little quick Google search. From good sources that what I say is right on typically. So you guys take care. Catch you later.